Patriots, I am George Washington. I was the first president of the United States of America. I am here to tell you about my battle in Trenton. I don't have much time, so I must hurry up. It was 1776. My team were being beaten again and again, and my men were starting to question me. So I had to change my fighting strategies. I had my men start fighting in woods and fields instead of cities. This caught the British off guard. They were used to fighting in cities. My crew and I were planning a sneak attack on the British, which became known as the Battle of Trenton. We crossed the Delaware River in rowboats and had to break apart the frozen river. We marched through a snowstorm on Christmas night until we reached Trenton, New Jersey. All the Hessians had stayed indoors. We surprised them on Christmas when they thought there would be no fighting. We made sure to wait after their Christmas feast so they were nice, full, and tired. We were successful, and after a small battle, we already captured 2/3 of the Hessian soldiers. This is what we call a turning point. We continued to win many more battles, and after all the fighting and killing, we won the war. Because of me, we won the war and became our own country, the United States of America. This story is important because it helped the revolution. Finally, I became the first president. I was proud to continue to serve my country at the highest level. Thank you for listening to me today. Farewell. I'm off to Mount Rushmore.
She laid some taxes on her darling son, and would have laid another act there. Why weeps Americans, why weeps my child? Thus spake Britannia, thus benign and mild. That is one of my poems about the Stamp Act. Hello, my name is Phyllis Wheatley. I became a well-known African-American poet in America. I was born in Africa and was brought over on a ship where I was sold to Susanna and John Wheatley. In my lifetime, I wrote 5 books and 145 poems. Let me tell you about the time I met George Washington. I wrote a poem named Reply to General Washington. I also wrote another poem named To His Excellency General Washington. I wrote these poems to honor a fearless leader. General Washington wrote me a letter requesting to meet me and addressed me by Miss. It may be the first time that he addressed a Negro woman by Miss. In March of that year, General Washington General Washington and I met in Cambridge, Massachusetts. This meeting was important because I was being accepted as a poet, more importantly, an African-American poet. This meeting proved I could do anything. The poem I wrote to General Washington was published in the Pennsylvania magazine. This made me feel excited to be recognized as a poet in a popular magazine. I was grateful to be able to share my words with the public. Even though I am a female slave, I proved I could be smart and learn. Without a doubt, we have more work to do on women's rights and freeing black slaves, and I will continue to write poems to urge others to change their views. I am grateful for the opportunity that I was given, and I hope others will be given the opportunity as well. Long live American independence!
Good day, everybody. My name is Deborah Sampson, and I'm here to tell you about my tragic but adventurous life. Growing up, I had a very difficult childhood. When I was 5 years old, my father died, and my mother was too sick and poor to take care of me. My mother made the decision to have her cousin raise me, but she also later died. Since I didn't have any family to live with, I was sent to live with Mrs. Thatcher when I was 8 years old. Miss Thatcher was old and weak, but she was kind enough to give me a home. General Patterson would come to Mrs. Thatcher's house to check on us, and he saw that as I grew older and taller, I also grew skinnier and paler. He had made me a promise that he would get me out of there, because Miss Thatcher was too old to take care of me. And he kept his promise. Later, he moved me to Deacon Thomas's house. Finally, a family! I had to take care of the children and cook food for the family. Later in life, I was happy because I became a school teacher. But I wanted more. What more, you may ask? I wanted adventure. I decided my adventure would be to join the army, but it wouldn't be that simple. I had to pretend to be a man. I had to learn how to talk, walk, and act like a man. I also made my own male clothes. I left my job as a school teacher and enlisted in the army as Robert Shirtliff on May 20th, 1782. It was hard for me to keep my secret from the other soldiers. For example, one time the other soldiers were wrestling and I had to avoid them so they wouldn't find out that I really was a girl. One time my group was traveling by horseback. We came across a cave that was filled with food stolen by the Tories. We then stole the food back, but the Tories discovered us. We tried to get away on horseback, but shots were fired and I got shot in the leg and the neck. Another soldier saved my life and brought me to a hospital where I was supposed to be examined. I knew I couldn't get caught, so I took the bullet out of my leg myself and left. I was discharged over a year later, and I'm here to tell you why. I caught a fever, fainted, fell to a coma, and was taken into the hospital. There, my identity was discovered by Dr. Benny. As a result of my bravery and efforts, I helped America win the war. And George Washington gave me complete credit, even though I am a girl. Do you think it was a good idea for me to enlist in the army?
Yes!
Good, me too. I am brave, I'm a patriot, and I'm a girl.
The redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming.
Oh, hello, fellow American friends. I'm here to tell you about my famous midnight ride, but I unfortunately don't have much time. Wait, where are my manners? I didn't mean to be rude. I'm the legendary Paul Revere. Some of you may remember me as a spy for the Sons of Liberty. Back to my midnight ride. On April 18th, I found out that 1,000 British soldiers were traveling to the Boston Harbor by boat. I knew this was going to mean trouble. I galloped into the moonlight as fast as I could to warn John Hancock and Sam Adams. You see, my two good friends like to stir up trouble. And the British general was planning to arrest them. I didn't travel alone. I traveled with William Dawes. However, soon we split up to take two separate routes. My first stop was to Boston's Old North Church. While I was there, I made sure to light 2 lanterns in the steeple to show that the British attack was coming by sea. Next, I went down to the harbor and rowed across to Charleston. I quickly continued my journey, hopping on a horse named Brown Beauty to warn colonists door to door that the redcoats were coming. After I got through Lexington, I met up with Dawes for a quick meal. There were thousands of redcoats coming, but hey, a man's gotta eat.
We then took off for Concord, and unfortunately, this is where my ride ends. I was suddenly surrounded by 12 British officers. They made me dismount my horse and took her from me. I may have only spent a few hours with Brown Beauty, but we really bonded. Plus, now I had to walk back to Lexington on foot. The purpose of my ride was to let the people of Boston know that danger, more specifically, the Redcoats were coming to seize hidden weapons and ammunition. Without me, Minutemen would not have been prepared to fight the Redcoats and send them packing back to Boston. Now I need to make something clear about that ride. Some people spread a rumor that I rode by and yelled, "The Redcoats are coming." I'm looking at you, Jimmy. I actually went door to door, knocked, waited for someone to answer so I could warn them that the regulars were coming. Regular was a name that the colonists used to refer to the British soldiers. In like slang, all the cool kids say it. Let's try it together. On the count of 3, everyone yell with me. The regulars are coming. Ready? 1, 2, 3. The regulars are coming! I'm off to warn more people about the regulars. Good day.
Hello, I'm John Adams. You might know me as the first Vice President or the second President of the United States of America, but I did much more and had many accomplishments. You may know that Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, but did you know who edited it? Me. Did you know who urged the Continental Congress to accept the Declaration of Independence? Also me. Well, I guess you are now pondering about what other things I've done. So listen closely. On July 2nd, 1775, the Continental Congress met in Philadelphia to vote for the Declaration of Independence. My ideas for how a government should work were sewn into the Declaration of Independence, which I was proud of. My plan for the government was that all the power should be split up. That way, there would be no dictators, and each party would check and balance the others. The government should be split up into legislative branches. Before the vote started, I decided to say a few words, even though I didn't really prepare anything. Well, a few words turned into many because I ended up speaking for 2 hours. The Continental Congress then ended up accepting the Declaration of Independence. Maybe it was because the representatives slept through my speech, but more likely it was because they were inspired by my speech. As you know by now, I believe strongly in the independence of America, so getting the Declaration of Independence accepted meant a lot for me. It also meant a lot for our great country. Overall, if it wasn't for me, the Declaration of Independence might not have been accepted, and all of you wouldn't have been able to sit here today in a free country. Well, goodbye. I'm off to read the dictionary again. Are there any loyalists out there? No. No? Good. Alrighty then. My name is Nathan Hill. Most of you probably know me as a revolutionary spy. But today, I'm going to tell you how I became one. I decided to become a spy when I was 20 years old. I was loyal to this country, my country. George Washington invited me to a private meeting and asked me to volunteer as a spy. So I said yes. I wasn't going to let my country down. I didn't know what I was getting into, so let me start from the beginning. When I was 14, I left home from Yale College, graduated, and earned my teacher's degree when I was only 18. I was at the top of my class. When I got older, I got paid to teach boys from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but secretly, I taught girls from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. for free. Miss Fitz, do you teach for free? Finally, when I was 20, General Washington personally invited me to a secret meeting on September 10, 1776. There I volunteered to be an American spy. My first mission was to collect some secret information. Easy, right? No. Wrong! Anyways, a ship was supposed to pick me up and drop me off the next day. But when that day came, as the ship got closer and closer, I realized it was a British ship. It was too late. I got captured. The British soldiers found my notes and maps in my shoe. I mean, come on, what a stinky job. Now I shall start saying my farewells, for I shall be lifeless by noon. But let me back up real quick. I was given a chance to live, but I can never take it, because I would have to become a loyalist. I will never, ever sign my loyalty to King George. I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country.
pen is always freer than my tongue. I have wrote many things that I never could have taught. Oh, hello there. I am Abigail Adams, born on October 11th, 1744, in Weymouth, Massachusetts. My family calls me Nabby. I guess I'm known to be a little shy and stubborn when I need to be. I love to read, learn new things, and I love to write letters to my husband, John Adams. But enough of that. Here's the story I have for you today. I wrote over 1,000 letters to John when I was in Boston and he was in Philadelphia. I wrote them because I wanted to tell him about life in Boston during the Revolution without him. It was hard at first, but we got through it. I wrote letters to John to tell him about my struggles and loneliness without him. When the Boston Tea Party occurred, I was in Weymouth with my parents, so I begged John to tell me the details. Once I had heard about what happened, I was scared it would be the next step to war. In 1770, John was chosen to serve in the Continental Congress, so my children and I moved back to Braintree. My friends and I created our own clothes and tea so that we didn't have to buy products from Britain, since the taxes were incredibly high. While I was in Boston, the Boston Massacre took place outside of my house. This made me more confident in our fight for freedom. In my lifetime, I enjoyed taking care of my family and being John's wife and advisor. I love politics and helping people, such as my famous letter, Remembering the Ladies. In this letter, I urged John to understand the importance of women and the change that could be made if society recognized them as equal counterparts towards men. As second First Lady of the USA, I knew I could make a difference. Good day.
Hello, I'm Sybil Weddington. You may know me as female Paul Revere, but I say that Paul Revere is male me. I'm celebrated for riding through the night to gather my father's army. I rode for 40 miles on my horse Star. Okay, here's my story. The doorbell rang. Me and my family stared at the door, wondering who it could be. Then my father opened it. In came a messenger who told me and my family that the Redcoats were coming to Danbury to burn warehouses with food and clothing for American soldiers, and they were setting fire to family homes. The messenger couldn't go to warn soldiers because he was too sleepy and drenched. My father couldn't go because he had to send commands to the soldiers as they arrived. I said I wanted to go because I wanted to help my father get his soldiers, and I wanted to help our country defeat England. As I proceeded on my journey, I saw an orange sky. It was from 20 miles away. As I came home, I saw many people standing in front of my house. Overall, I helped many people survive. Without me, Danbury might have been completely burned down. Paul Revere was essential to our freedom. But you must know, so was I.
And I wrote the Declaration of Independence. Writing the Declaration was more than just words. These words would change our colonies forever. Everything had to be perfect. Let me explain. Oh, and please note, I'm not the best public speaker, so be patient as I continue. In June of 1776, I was asked to write the Declaration of Independence. I felt scared but proud of myself to be asked to do something so important. I worked in 2 rented rooms inside a brick home for nearly 3 weeks. I spent so much time on it because it was going to save the colonies. The Declaration stated all men are equal, and if our government didn't serve us, we could create a new one. When I thought I was done with it, there were several days of discussion before the Congress could adopt it. However, on July 4th, 1776, they did. Thank you. Thank you very much. As a result, America was declared free from England. Luckily, we solidified that freedom by winning the war. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today, if you know what I mean. Without the Declaration, our new country would not be as successful as it is. I'm so glad we got the right to be independent and free. God bless America. I'm more than a man who just gave famous speeches. Let me tell you the story behind my words. I was a shopkeeper with my brother, but my passion was becoming a lawyer. I became a lawyer and got elected into the House of Burgesses, which is a place where all of the decisions were made. The word Burgesses means citizens, so the citizens got to vote before all the decisions were made. It was democracy. While I was in the House of Burgesses, I persuaded Virginians to prepare for war so that we could become one country. In March 1775, I attended the Second Continental Congress. There I said, "I know not what course others may take, but for me, give me liberty or give me death." I stuck an imaginary dagger in my heart to make it clear that I would die for my country. The time to build our democracy was now, and we deserve to form our own laws and rules. Overall, I learned my words had an impact only if people responded with actions. Because of me, men were inspired to fight for freedom. Without the unity of our colonies, we would not be standing here as a free nation today.
I know you know me as John Hancock, King George's #1 enemy, but I like to call myself John Handsome because of my beautiful looks and clothes. King George hates me because I'm on his dangerous list. Today I'm going to be telling you about my big signature. I was a delegate of Massachusetts in the Continental Congress and elected president of the Second Continental Congress. I began writing my name bigger and with greater flourish. British generals sought out to catch me and Sam Adams. We were won by Paul Revere. I was elected governor 11 times. Regularly, I threatened to retire, but people said this was because I wanted to be coaxed to stay. I signed my name for orders for food, gunpowder, clothing, also for moving troops, building forts, and catching spies. I had to sign my name to these documents, and because of this, the king moved me to the top of his dangerous list. Instead of a prize of 500 pounds. Undoubtedly, I was a leader of the American Revolution of the Continental Congress. In the end, I was very loved by my wife and other supporters. I got what I always wanted. Oh, and I suppose we got our freedom too. Long live American independence.
Good morning. My name is Mercy Sworn, but you can just call me Mercy. I live in Boston with my husband and five children. I grew up in Plymouth, mostly spending time with my older brother, Jimmy. I was lucky because my father agreed that I should learn alongside my brother. My family was involved with politics, so I knew leaders of the revolution. Let me start from the beginning. I was a famous playwright during revolutionary times. I even signed my plays as a male because no one would have read them if I didn't. My plays were political and showed up all over Boston newspapers. I mostly wrote poems and plays about the Revolutionary War because my family inspired me to speak out about my political beliefs. Who can be an unconcerned and silent spectator, not surely the fond mother or affectionate wife who trembles lest her clearest connection should fall victims of lawless power. You should know, my political interests became even more important to me after my brother, who was a writer, was beaten by loyalists for his writing. His body healed, but his mind never did. He was soon put to death for his crazy mind. To see the mind of a man so superior darkened, and that man, a most affectionate brother, is a grief beyond expression. Finally, the Revolutionary War came to an end. I revealed myself as a woman and got all the credit I deserved for my writing. Overall, I wrote poems and plays that are now famous. My longest work, which was 3 volumes long, was called A History of the Rise, Progress, and Termination of the Revolution. Thank you for listening to my story. I'm off to go write another play.
Bonjour. Good day. Hello. My name is Ben Franklin. You probably know me as the handsome inventor who created the lightning rod. You might know me as the talented Benjamin Franklin,
or you might know me as the founding father of our great country. When I was 69, I was chosen to be one of the 5 leaders to write the Declaration of Independence. Just so you know, if you couldn't tell, I was a very helpful person in the making of our country. My story begins on June 1776 when the Second Continental Congress chose 5 people, including me, to write the Declaration of Independence. Then, Thomas Jefferson started writing his rough draft of the Declaration of Independence. After that, John Adams and myself edited his rough draft. After receiving our edits, Thomas Jefferson wrote his final draft. Most importantly, we published the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Finally, we signed the Declaration of Independence on August 2nd, 1776. America is a better country because of some other people and myself. I helped write the Declaration of Independence at 69 years old. In my day, that was what we call over the hill. As a result, America is independent and I am not dead. Well, yet. Farewell, for I am now off to France to make a treaty with the king. Au revoir.
Hello, I am Mary Ludwig Hayes, and between you and me, I am 280. I saved lives and helped win a war. You may not know who I am, so let me explain. When I was 20, I got married and moved to an army camp with my husband. It was not hard to keep busy. I made food, did laundry, and helped soldiers. We moved to Valley Forge for the long, harsh winter, and then to New Jersey for the Battle of Monmouth. I went on the battlefield to bring my husband water to cool down the cannon, and everyone was screaming, "Molly, pitcher!" You may be wondering, why Molly? My name is Mary, but back in my day, Molly was like saying miss or ma'am. So that is how I got my nickname. The soldiers yelled pitcher because they wanted me to bring them water during the Battle of Monmouth. My husband was hit in the head with a cannonball. I knew I not only had to help my husband, but also my country. I knew I had to, so I started firing and we won the battle. Fortunately, my husband eventually recovered from his injury. I'm so grateful we won our freedom from England. God bless America! Cheers! I am Samuel Adams! Oh wait, I can't drink yet. Oh, I'll just fill it up with water. You might recognize me because I'm on a beer bottle, but I have so many more things to share with you. Listen close to the secrets of the Boston Tea Party that not many know. The Boston Tea Party happened because King George was levying high taxes and the colonists got angry. I knew something drastic had to be done, so why not have some fun? The Sons of Liberty planned to disguise themselves as Mohawk Indians and dump the tea into the Boston Harbor. Are you ready to go toss the tea? Who is with me? Yeah! Next, we got a rowboat into Boston Harbor. We boarded 3 big ships and dumped the tea off them. We put all our anger towards King George into our little party. As a result of the Tea Party, the British put even more taxes on us colonists, which made us even angrier. Even though they kept on making rules, we kept on fighting for our freedom. I've been a member of the Sons of Liberty, organizer of the Boston Tea Party, signed the Declaration of Independence, Massachusetts delegate to the Continental Congress, but perhaps my greatest accomplishment was inside this bottle. Now that Americans have their freedom, they can relax with a nice cold beer. Farewell! Hello, my name is Patience Wright, and I'm known for being a sculptor and revolutionary spy. I was very important in the American Revolution. Let me tell you about my part in the Revolutionary War. It all started when we found Benjamin Franklin told wealthy English people about my business. Then King George III invited me to Buckingham Palace to sculpt busts of him and the Queen. I was able to Sculpting was a long process, so I would talk to the king and queen while they posed. I was able to get valuable information, but offering wrong information, and then they corrected my information. I was able to confirm what the British were planning. I wrote this information down and stuck the slips into hollow bus. Clever, I know. And sent them to my sister Rachel, who was back in the colonies. Rachel sent them important messages to major generals in the Continental Army. As I look back, I'm glad I helped the Americans. I feel accomplished by being a sky and a sculptor. Because of me, Americans won many battles with priceless information.
Six-pointed or five-pointed? Five-pointed. Hello. Have you ever wondered where the American flag was made? Well, I'm Betsy Ross. I grew up in Philadelphia, our First Nations capital. I'm the great seamstress of the American flag. I created the symbol of our great nation. Now, let me start from the beginning. I knew George Washington before he came to my house and personally asked me to create the first American flag. George Washington used to ask me to make his shirts, so he already knew how great I was and an expert at sewing. George Washington came with two cobblers to my house, and I welcomed them in and quickly offered a hot cup of tea. Although we already had a relationship, it had been a while, so I was surprised to see that Mr. Washington had remembered me. He must have been thinking about me. I made a lot of changes to the flag that he wanted. Remember, I'm the expert. I advised that a five-pointed star would be more efficient than a six-pointed star that they wanted. Of course, they agreed with my ideas. Because of me, we have a flag to represent all of us. This flag will unite Americans for years to come. It will help us feel a part of something bigger. If you are ever in a tough situation, wave this flag and remember all the hard work and sacrifice that helped build this country. Long live America!
John Hancock, George Washington, Sam Adams. Oh, hello, I didn't see you there. I was just going over my most dangerous colonist list. You must already know my name is King George III. You may know me as the tyrant who taxed the colonists, but there are some reasons why. I use the money for necessary things. Soon you'll see I'm not the evil one for taxing the colonists. It is the colonists who behaved rudely. In 1763, I had to lower the cost of defending the colonists of American colonies because Chief Pontiac had led a tax on British troops. I ordered the colonists to stay east of the Appalachian Mountains, and the colonists became furious because they felt as if I was being unfair to them. In spring of 1764, my Prime Minister, George Grenville, got Parliament to pass the Sugar Act. The Sugar Act required the colonists to pay a tax on sugar and molasses that they imported from the Caribbean islands. That same year, I sent thousands of British troops and warships to arrest people who were trying to smuggle in untaxed molasses. Like any good leader, I had to make sure that my colonists were obeying laws. In 1765, my Prime Minister pushed the Stamp Act through. The Parliament approved of this act in which all documents had to have a stamp to show the colonists had paid the tax on that product. I don't think I did anything wrong. If you had been listening, you would know that it was my Prime Minister who put through all of those taxes. I suppose the colonists took it differently, that they were doing many things to stop the taxes I had given them. Can you believe they even had a tea party? However, it's not the tea party you expect. No classy English man or woman would ever dream of disrespecting good English tea as the colonists did. These babies dumped all of the tea into the Boston Harbor, which forced me to close the harbor. Now, as a father of 15, I know how to parent. And by the looks of it, what those colonists really needed was someone to parent them. Even my own children know how to behave appropriately. So, to ensure that the colonists
So, to ensure that there were consequences for their behavior, I demanded the Port of Boston be closed, and I grounded the colonists, not allowing them to have play dates or town meetings. I restricted their bedtime. No one could be out after dark. As a result, the colonists decided to proceed with the war, but that's a story for another day. Farewell, I'm off to scheduled playtime with my 15 children.